We're live, RFM. It's Friday, Mormonism After Dark.
Hey, everybody. It's so good to be here. Man, what a week this was, huh? I think I've worn the right not to wear the bow tie tonight, but everything else is all appointed. Now, Bill, I can't help but notice you seem to have a new hat as part of your apparel.
Yeah, let me tell you a little story. So I've never been one for hats. My head is just not the right shape, and hats never look good on me. You can make a joke if you want about this
I think
one.
this looks great. What do you mean a joke? Why would I make a joke?
Because you're always making jokes. But I'll just say I went to Men's Warehouse, and was it there? I think it was there, and they had some hats for sale, and I tried this one on. I'm like, you know what? For once in my life, I think the hat looks good on me. And so I'm wearing my hat tonight. What a lot of fun this is going to be. The Halloween show was great, but a lot of things going on. How was your week, RFM?
It was great. And I don't know. I think you've misjudged me. I feel like I've been treated unfairly, that you would naturally assume I would say something mean like, I don't know. It looks like Bing Crosby on a bad acid trip.
I'll take it. That's a half a compliment because Bing Crosby's a cool cat.
Very, very cool cat indeed. And you're talking about my week. Well, it was absolutely fantastic. And I think what you're doing is you're trying to look like Bing Crosby to point out the fact that I kind of look like Bob Hope.
I was thinking more like George Burns, but you know, Bob Hope's cool.
Me, George Burns, really?
The Godfather. No, God himself, right? He played God in like God 1, God 2.
It was something with God in it.
Yeah.
It was either The Godfather. Can you imagine George Burns
wasn't
as Vito Corleone?
Make him an offer he can't refuse.
Okay, I'm going to make him an offer. I can't even do George Burns. You know, he was around when I was in high school in the 70s. He was a big deal. He had a huge comeback. It was only after I saw him or came to know him in his very old age, which he played up to great comedic effect, that I found out that he had been hugely popular. He had his own show with his wife, Gracie, and then they had a radio show before that. So that's why everybody knew him. He was just new to me because I was so young at the time.
Yeah, I saw the God movies with George Burns smoking a cigarette, being God, and I couldn't make sense of things. I was just a little kid, but I think my dad took me to the theater to watch it, you know? So
I'm going to guess it was a cigar. That was a trademark thing of his. And I think he would hold it like this. I don't know if you can see it. This isn't a cigar. My cigars are over there, unfortunately, in the humidor. But yeah, he would hold it like this. And he would use it as a prop and move it around while he was talking.
But I saw those movies. I saw more than one of them. My dad must have been so desperate to go to the theater but had little kids that he just took them along to watch a movie that definitely did not pertain to children at all.
No, not at all.
No, but he got it back he took me to see The Dark Crystal as well. Him and my mom took me to see that. So
I hope you liked it. I still haven't seen it.
I love The Dark Crystal. Talking about crystals, though, St. George Thrive. There's going to be no Reiki, no crystals there. It's just going to be post-religious deconstruction and support for folks.
I'm going to nominate that segue for a Brody Award for worst segue of the year.
It was. I just had to
turn it on its head and said the opposite of it.
Yep. So St. George Thrive, folks. By the way, I just want to say to everybody out there, we're so glad you guys are here. You guys make this show. And if you look down in the YouTube description, you'll see the link there that lets you come into the studio. You can chat with me and RFM. You can ask us questions. But please, by all means, it's there in the YouTube description. It's also pinned in the live chat at the very top. And
it was like you said, speaking of crystals, there won't be any crystals at this Thrive conference.
No, there won't, but there will. And so just wanted to go over this. Michael Foley, who's a local celebrity in Southern Utah. He's on the radio, does a lot of hilarious TikToks and shorts, but he's funny as hell. He's going to be the master of ceremonies, but the lineup, we've got Dr. Julie Hanks, Haley Raleigh, Nathan Hinckley, who we've had on the show.
Haley Raleigh is from Girls Camp.
Yeah, Girls Camp, right? I don't know who she is, but she's second on the list, so she must be a big deal. Dr. Julie Hanks, who we've had on, Nathan Hinckley, who we've had on, Lauren Matthias, who we've had on, Greg Prince. I interviewed him years ago. Rebecca Biblioteca, our co-host with the Mormon Newscast, and her co-host with Mormonish, Landon Brophy. And then you and I doing Mormonism Live. And then Dr. John DeLynn will join us via a Zoom broadcast.
He'll be phoning it in.
He will, which, hey, you know what? You can't be at all of them. And
he's so popular. I'm surprised he can make an appearance at all.
He's still the star of the show.
Yes, he is.
February 20th through 22nd. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You can see the times there on the left. This will be at the Dixie Convention Center, and 3-day event. You can register for $45 and register now at thrivebeyondreligion.com. And you can also donate and help somebody else attend Thrive. And that room is always packed. I don't remember what the number was, but it's in several hundreds that show up for this. So it should be a great time.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Excellent.
I'm hoping you'll wear that hat at the symposium.
If we're doing Mormonism Live, I might do that. I might wear this hat and show up that way. I wanted to show you something else that happened today. I got this, and I don't know if folks will be able to read this, but on the right-hand side, by the way, I see Pearl's down there, and folks, other folks want to come into the show, please do, and we'll get to you here after this segment. We'll take a few of you. So you and I talked a while back, RFM. There were some imitation shows on iTunes and on Spotify, and they were, Radio Free Mormon there, top right. The middle one, Mormon Stories, Mormon Discussions down below. There's also an imitation of Mormonish as well. And we had asked those folks to Spotify and Apple Podcast to remove these imitation podcasts, and they wouldn't do it just out of hand, which you would think they would, but they didn't. And so I ended up trying to register to get trademarks for Radio Free Mormon and for Mormon Discussions.
Because they told you, if you want us to do anything about this, you're going to have to get a trademark and show us that trademark.
They don't see a strength of argument without one. So I went through the work to get these, and I actually got notified. I reached out to you like 2 weeks ago and said, hey, I finally got notified. They finally have approved these, and these are going to happen. And I got really excited. And then today I got an email. Dear Mr. Real, my name is Megan McGrath. I am a senior paralegal in the Intellectual Property Office of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Wow, a senior paralegal. That's much better than a junior paralegal.
Part of my responsibilities is to help maintain the integrity of trademarks and copyrights owned by the church. My office has recently become aware of Mormon Discussion Inc.'s trademark application for Radio Free Mormon, serial number, and then it gives it, and then registration on the supplemental register for Mormon Discussions. Both these trademarks include the term Mormon, a registered trademark of the church. So first, can we just stop there? These guys don't want the word used. It's a victory for Satan, but they're still pretty protective of it, aren't they?
They've got all these Mormons out there who are crowing over the fact that when I had that Sunday school going for like 6 months, it was called the Mormon Sunday School. And the idea was we'll give a slight nod to the fact this isn't going to be your everyday Sunday school. And of course, that's what I would launch with at the beginning too. So it was Mormon Sunday School. And then there were all these comments below saying, oh my gosh, I thought this guy was with the church, but then I realized a true member of the church would not use the word Mormon in the title.
Yeah.
And people were saying this gives the anti-Mormons away because they're the ones who use Mormon in the title of their podcasts, and by their titles, you may know them.
I don't know why, but I think you're sort of a dick when you both want to own a name and don't want anyone using the name.
We're going to win this lawsuit, Bill. They can't own Mormon. Screw them. And also they can't. copyrights and stuff like this was one of the 2 classes I came the closest to failing in law school, okay? I just could not get my head around what they were saying. So with that caveat, okay, I think that something that comes into this is whether an equal application. In other words, are they moving against anybody who uses the word Mormon? Like, I don't know, Book of Mormon musical or anything like that. And if they haven't, and if they're just doing the selective kind of enforcement, I think that militates. Remember, I almost failed this class. I think that militates against the idea that they are about protecting the name as opposed to sort of saying, well, we don't want them to use it, but other people, it's okay.
I'll tell you right now, I already know we would win the case. I'm not bothered by that at all. The trouble is the cost of winning the case. So I'm confident that, one, Mormon is a general term that applies to all the factions that come forth from Joseph Smith's founding of a church and the use of the Book of Mormon. And there are lots of groups in the Mormon tradition who use that word. On top of that, we're using phrases that are not that word alone. And there are other parts of trademark law that make what we're doing perfectly okay. But so winning isn't the issue, but to have, say, 200 grand or 300 grand to whatever it is, whatever it would cost to fight the church on this would be another case altogether. So I will say this, if there is just a rich person out there and you love Radio Free Mormon and you love Bill Reel and you love the work that we do.
If you really, really don't like the church throwing its weight around the way it does.
Yeah. I would say, if you're like I don't want to donate to you guys. I don't want to give you guys a couple $100 grand to do your work. I just want to fight this. Then I would say, make a donation of 200 grand and we'll fight this. And I have the feeling that we would win it. But at this point, I don't think I would want to pay the cost it would take to rub the church's nose in it, because they obviously have an endless amount of funds that I can't match, that you can't match, that you and I adding together, we can't match. But it does get interesting. So the church continues here. It says the church respects your right to free speech and has no desire to censor the speech on your podcast. No, you just censored my podcast when I was a believing member of the church. Then it was perfectly okay to censor me. But they say they're not here to have no desire to censor me.
Bill, you're referencing something that's important. Do you want to just give a little bit more detail on what you're talking about for the audience?
When I was in the church, I had stake presidents meeting with me because the higher ups in the church had asked them to reach out to me and asked me to take down my podcast. Asked me to essentially go silent. They've asked Michelle Stone to go silent. The church is not in favor of free speech. That's how high demand religions work, everybody. You're not allowed to do free speech. But because I'm outside the church and because they can't do anything other than sue my ass, I guess, and lose, but make the money off of us, get it all spent. But they're not for free speech. But because they can't do anything to me, they're going to tell me they have no desire to censor the speech of my podcast because the church respects my right.
They don't even want to censor your podcast, Bill. Now, that's getting hard for me to believe at that point. They don't even want to shut you down.
They don't want to censor our websites. They don't want to censor our social media accounts. They have no problem creating, having people go out and create fake avatars and infiltrate those social media accounts. But they have no desire to censor us. What did Dallin Oaks say about Mormon Enigma and the Emma Smith book?
I know the quote to which you're referring, but he said, I think my responsibility or my duty is for everything that's important about the church and the plan of salvation and the priesthood and Joseph Smith, to make whatever sacrifice I have to defend their truth and their character. Something like that.
Yeah. And he finishes by saying something like, hence, if it requires me to smother these guys or make it harder for people to find their work, then I'll do that. I'll just note here, though, it says, however, the church has an obligation to protect its Mormon trademarks. See, that's a victory for Satan right there. protect its Mormon trademarks as unique identifiers to prevent confusion. They hate to have confusion. This church hates to have confusion. Isn't that strange?
It is. I have the quote whenever you need it.
Please, what's the last sentence of that?
It is thus, if Mormon Enigma reveals information that is detrimental to the reputation of Joseph Smith, then it is necessary to try to limit its influence and that of its authors.
That sounds like censoring.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, just wanted to be clear. As a result, the church is prepared to oppose your application and petition to cancel your registration. However, prior to doing so, we ask that you agree to voluntarily abandon your application for Radio Free Mormon and surrender your registration for Mormon Discussions. This request is consistent with the church's response to application. See, here's where they put the caveat that gives them legal standing, but for which you've already pointed out has an extreme weakness to it.
I expect it does, because they have to say this. This is letting me know that maybe I was awake for this part of the class in law school that I almost failed, because she's trying to say, I can't read it. Could you read it again? She's saying, we do this to everybody, so don't take offense.
This request is consistent with the church's response to applications and registrations for marks confusingly similar to the church's trademarks. Excuse me. Our first step when we address such issues, whether by member or non-member, is typically to notify the individual and give them the opportunity to make the necessary adjustments. While the letter specifically addresses your application and registration for Radio Free Mormon and Mormon Discussions, the church reserves all rights to object to your use of those terms. Please feel free to contact me if you have any questions. Please let me have your response within the next 10 days. Sincerely. By the way, this is a bully letter. These guys have the ability. They shouldn't own the name Mormon. And even if they do own the term Mormon, people, by the way, trademarks are given out all the time. I was told when I got these trademarks that I couldn't use Mormon by itself. That's already owned by somebody else, but that it was perfectly okay to use Radio Free Mormon or Mormon Discussions. And so she says, if I can feel free to contact her if I have any questions, give the response within 10 days. Megan McGrath, Senior Paralegal, Intellectual Reserve Incorporated, 50 East North Temple Street, Salt Lake City. You would think that when you decide that Mormon is no longer a good word, it can't have the spirit with it, it's a victory for Satan for anyone who uses it, you'd think you would just let it go yourself, don't you?
You would think so. Here's my advice to the response to this letter. Are you ready to take this down?
All right, hold on. Let me get my notepad.
Okay.
All right. Yep, I'm ready.
Do what Khan said in Star Trek 2, okay?
All right, Star Trek 2.
Let them eat static.
Say that one more time.
Let them eat static.
Let them eat static.
Yes. I think I have this right. I mean, there's so many things that are quotable from that movie. It's a classic movie. It's amazing. It rises above all of the other Star Trek movies as something that will stand the test of time.
Now, there's a fun thing that could happen here. Again, somebody would need to come forward and say, I'm so rich. I've got millions of dollars. I want to beat the church's ass and fund this. But imagine the local newspaper, here in Utah, the local newspapers here in Utah, Deseret News maybe would get in on it, but the Salt Lake Tribune for sure. Imagine church sues to keep the word Mormon and the effect that would have on people going, yeah, but I thought they said we weren't supposed to use that. That's not a word we use anymore. That's a victory for Satan. Why would we want that word?
I don't know. It's like they can't live with it and they can't live without it. It's like polygamy. They have a love-hate relationship with polygamy.
Yeah. This church just seems to never be able to do the right thing. Let the word go. If you guys don't like it, just let it go. The rest of us love the word.
It's like the whole church has dissociative identity disorder.
It does. It's got DID.
Got it. So, do you want to bring Pearl on?
Yeah, Pearl, how are you?
Good, gentlemen. How are you?
Mini Pearl, how you doing?
What do you think,
All
Pearl?
right.
You want to give $100,000 and split the cost with us on this lawsuit?
Just
I
make
would
the
love
check
to.
out to Radio Free Mormon. I'll make sure it gets to the right place.
Yeah, I would love to, but unfortunately, my money's tied up in St. Louis, and I can't get to it. But anyway, so how's your guys's?
Life is good. What are you thinking? What's on your mind?
Well, life is busy. Life's busy when you're making other plans, or however that saying goes. So anyway, I'm
Life is
falling
what
behind on
happens when
everything.
you're busy making other plans.
Thank you.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you. Wrong one. Anyway, so I've been like completely obsessed with the court podcasts, like Judge Simpson and Michigan and all them. So my thing is, I got two questions. A, how long do practicing lawyers that come out of school stay, until they go on their own, like when they practice under somebody? And B, what do you think about the sovereign citizens and pro se's?
RFM?
I sense a
Why
trap,
is
so
it
I'm
every
only going to
time?
answer the first bite of that. Why? Are you one of them? Are you
Okay.
a posse comitatus? Is
No.
that what Pearl is?
No. Oh God, no.
Okay, here's the thing.
I told-
Okay, I will answer your question. First off, once you get your license, the bar license, you've graduated from law school, you've taken and passed the bar exam, you can open your own shop immediately. You've done everything you need to do to go into practice by yourself. So there's no period of time under where you study under somebody. Like, I don't know, you might have with medicine, perhaps.
Right.
So it doesn't mean that it's a good idea, but there's nothing that keeps you from doing that, to my knowledge. Now, posse comitatus people, I guess they're everywhere. They're here in Washington State. They would come downriver from time to time to appear in court, where they've been charged with some kind of minor offense, usually involving too many junk vehicles on their property. And they end up. These are people who think they understand the law better than the judges do.
Yeah, because yeah.
Yes. And the deal is they don't.
They do.
They don't. They have this
definitely,
rudimentary kindergarten view of how the law works. And they think it's right. They believe it's right. It's a religious belief to them. And they cannot be dissuaded from it. At least I've never been able to talk sense into any of these kinds of people. So it's just, that's what posse comitatus is. But why do you ask that question, Pearl?
Because, if I didn't ask these questions, then, it wouldn't be Mormonism After Dark.
No. There's got to be a reason more than that for such a specific and unusual question.
I just think it's interesting to watch because, I told my cousin, I said, they're wackadoodle, and that's coming a lot from me.
Pearl, hang on a second.
Oh my God.
You referenced some podcasts or shows that you watch that I have no idea what they are. You said judge podcasts. Are you talking about something that's going on right now in one of these trials where somebody is trying to be all posse comitatus?
No, just like Judge Simpson like a lot of them are out of Michigan. Some of them are out of like Kansas, but a lot of them you see are coming out of different places in Michigan. So I just happened to catch the one that's coming. I just happened to catch Judge Simpson, who comes out of like Lansing, Michigan. And that area.
They got a real problem with the gold braid on the American flag too. They got a problem with a lot of things. But the real problem is that they're wrong. And the judges, I was talking to a guy once. Honestly, he was calling me about a case. I was never going to take it because he's posse comitatus. I'm never going to bring the motions he wants me to bring. Forget about it. I have to have some credibility with the court, for crying out loud. And that's why these guys are generally not represented. They're usually pro se, like you said, they're representing themselves. Is that the case also in Michigan?
Yes.
Yeah, because no lawyer is going to do that.
Yeah.
At least none that I know.
Right.
So they go up there and they say their stuff, and basically all their stuff is they're citing to, I don't know, acts of Congress from the 17th century or the 16th century even, and saying this means that you don't have any authority here. Go away before
Right.
someone drops the house on you, judge. And basically, judges
Yes.
don't really appreciate that. And
No.
I've seen shorter and longer tempers on judges, but ultimately they always snap.
Oh yeah. They just after a certain point, they're like, I'm done. Like, I'm gonna put you in contempt in 30 days and go away.
I will tell you a story, Pearl. You ready for a story? Okay, back when I
Yes.
was in the prosecutor's office, I did felonies, but also I had to do a few other things involving little tiny nuisance kind of civil work for the office. And part of that had to do
Mhm.
with junk cars. So there was this
Mhm.
guy, and I can't remember his name anymore. I think his first name was Gordon. And I didn't know him, but he was a posse comitatus guy. He had too many junk vehicles on his property. He'd been served with notices. He had defied them, all the kind of stuff. Coming down to court, and he just would not remove them. He refused to acknowledge the right of the state or the county to go on his property and regulate how many junk vehicles he had on it. So the other problem was that the guy who was trying to enforce the code enforcement officer for the county, would not go on his property because he was scared he'd get shot by this guy, Gordon. So he was having his way. And so what ended up happening is we went to court, we went through all the procedure, we got a ruling from the judge. It was ridiculous, of course, but we had to do it. And then he
Mhm.
appealed it. And so he took his appeal at Division 1 of the Court of Appeals, which is the division that we're in. And the Court of Appeals is in Seattle. So I drove to Seattle for argument on the hearing. Ultimately, I mean, it takes months and months, if not years, for all this
Mhm.
stuff
Yeah.
to play out. So
Right.
finally, I got there. And I mean, we had won at the district court level. And now we're appealing up to the Court of Appeals. And actually, I think we must have started in Superior Court if we're going to Court of Appeals. Regardless, I'm down there in Seattle. I lay eyes on Gordon, who shows up because he's going to be arguing his side of the appeal, right? And Seattle
Mhm.
being a good hour's drive away from where I am and where all this stuff is happening, I just go to a payphone. This is back a long time ago, you can tell. Go to a payphone, stick a
Mhm.
quarter in, punch the numbers, call the code enforcement guy and says, you can go get the vehicles. He's down here in Seattle.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's one of my favorite stories.
It's to me, it's interesting. I mean, I'm not going to change my major and decide to go into law school, but I just think it's interesting to watch.
Mhm. Well,
So,
it's so popular now. So many people feel that way.
yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. And
This true
like I
crime
said,
thing,
I mean,
if you're not watching it, you're committing it.
yeah, kind of in my family. Yeah, pretty much.
No, I didn't mean you
When I used to
personally. I
carry,
meant you generally as
no, I
the
know.
populace of the country.
I just didn't, I mean, it would be different when I was carrying my felony and misdemeanor bags with me everywhere I went back in the day, but that's
You
beside the
got those
point.
vacated?
But do what?
Did you get those vacated?
No, because I never got picked up. I back in my using days, I never got arrested for anything. But depending
Oh,
on the
so you got
day,
lucky or you were smart or both?
yeah, yeah, both. So back in the day, I would carry either misdemeanor stuff or felony stuff. So I called them my misdemeanor and
You're
felony
talking
bags.
about amounts of controlled substances.
Yes,
I thought you were talking
yes.
about convictions on your record.
No,
That's where I
no,
got
no, no,
confused.
no, no,
Okay,
no.
so
No,
you're
you're good.
carrying misdemeanor amounts and
Uh
also
huh. Or
felony
felony.
amounts?
Uh huh. Yeah,
And the reason for that
yeah.
was?
I was an addict, which 4 years clean, but I'm an addict. So I
But
would carry my
is there a
stuff
reason you
wherever I
had
went.
different amounts for misdemeanors and felonies?
It depended on how many grams I was carrying, or how many needles I was carrying, or how much paraphernalia basically I was carrying.
Wow. So that is
Yeah.
well in your past.
Yes. Well, in my past.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Yes.
That sounds
Yes.
rough.
It was. It was rough, but I made it through, and I'm here.
I'm glad of that.
Yes.
Was there anything else that
It
you
was.
wanted to say, Pearl?
No, but like I said, if it wasn't me asking all the weird questions, then, it wouldn't be me.
Well, that's my posse comitatus story. Absolutely. And I'm not sure why it is. I never researched it. I don't think I'm going to do it right now. Why it is that this group of people who think that they're originalists or whatever, they don't have to have a driver's license to drive on the road. It's their right. It's not a privilege that's given to them by the government. Yes, I'm familiar with the phenomenon, but I just don't know why it is that they're called posse comitatus groups when the Posse Comitatus Act is the act that says that the federal government can't use federal troops on the citizens. I'm not sure what the
I never did.
overlap is there.
I never did understand that either, but they're the ones that go in front of the judges and say, my name is XYZ from, La La Land. I am not my God-given name. This is my name.
See, here's the difference. This is why I was never a judge. It's because I wouldn't take any time with a person like that. I'd say, okay, we're going to take the next case. You're going to go to jail, and you just let the jailer know when it is that you're ready to be serious and tell me what your name is, and I'll get to you in a few days after that.
Or they're going to put them in, right? Or they're going to give them a competency hearing.
Yeah, just put them in
jail.
They're
wackadoodle.
That usually sobers people up.
You would think.
Well, thank you, Pearl. I'm going to let you go. Have a great day, and appreciate you coming in.
Good night.
No problem. Night, guys. Have a good one.
The per se thing she's talking about, isn't that the idea of representing yourself?
Yes, pro se.
Which Lori Daybell did, correct?
I think so. I think that she represented herself.
At least,
I mean, there's a whole bunch of different things she did. Was there a time when she didn't represent herself? I mean, she must have had an attorney at some point.
I'm just saying, though, that for part of the time, she seemed to be representing herself, and Jen Camp represented herself, right?
Right, but she wasn't charged with a crime, but still, she was going pro se.
How did that go for both of them?
Well, here's okay. It didn't go well for Lori, and I don't know if there's any attorney in the world who could have saved her bacon.
Do you know
they might have come closer to saving her bacon than she came doing it on her own. I think that what she thought was important was maybe not what was important to the jury.
Yeah, I was listening to some of the Supreme Court today. They're hearing that whole Trump case, and regardless of what side you're on, I'm listening to the Supreme Court, which I find very interesting, in that it's not like a normal courtroom. You're getting to test the logic of your argument with them, and all the Supreme Court justices are taking turns poking holes and asking questions and trying to find out if there's integrity to the argument you're making, right? And I thought it was kind of cool to have that kind of a conversation with the Supreme Court, trying to figure out regardless of what side you're on, trying to figure out, I'm trying to make a case. I'm either defending or I'm have a case against the current administration, and I'm playing out in real life how this case is going and the structure of it. And as these guys are asking questions, I'm noticing that the legal representatives on both sides are heightened in terms of their tone, in terms of feeling vulnerable and getting defensive really quickly. Whereas the Supreme Court folks, who, it's sort of a lifetime position once you're there, they're just cool, calm, and collected. They're not raising their voice. They're just asking questions. And
it's funny what being in the position of power can do for your demeanor.
Yeah. I was going to tell you, though, the most famous serial killer from Utah, Ted Bundy. Unless you want to argue that Mark Hoffman's a serial killer, which to some extent you kill more than one person, I guess you are. But Ted Bundy, who did a lot of his murders in Utah, went to college to be an attorney, didn't end up becoming a lawyer, but he had quite a bit of schooling in law, and he represented himself throughout his entire case. It didn't help him a whole lot either. He ended up, getting, I think, life for the chair or whatever. I think he ended up getting the chair.
Well, he had several cases in several states, and though he may have represented himself from time to time, there were also a number of attorneys who were involved from time to time, including a friend of mine who has his law office in Seattle. He's kind of a big deal, John Henry Brown, and that Brown has a silent E at the end. John Henry Brown. Oh yeah, the stories I could tell.
Yeah, well, I think that if you're going to represent yourself, you should be extremely comfortable with losing. I think that it's probably in your best interest to have legal representation, even if it's the kind that's appointed to you for free because you don't have any money to pay for it.
Well, it usually is. And it's the same problem that people have with the legal system because it's hopelessly complicated. I mean, it's evolved over time. There's a reason for the complications, and the complications are because of different fact patterns that have presented themselves over the years, some of them bizarre. But there has to be an answer for each of these permutations, right? So it becomes incredibly complex. And people without legal training or experience, they look at these forms, they try and look at the law. It's hopeless. It's absolutely hopeless. And for them to actually understand it. And so when you go and try to do it yourself, what you find is that you're constantly wondering if you're missing something that would be beneficial to you.
Yeah. I think it's also helpful to not have someone who's emotionally connected to the issue.
It is always.
Yeah. I think that that your emotions of you thinking you can handle it, but you're the one who did the thing, and you're going to have questions asked of you or of witnesses or of the situation. It's probably best just to have somebody represent you. We've got Rob down below. I'm going to show one more thing, and then we'll jump to him.
Oh, right. Oh, is this your certificate?
Yeah, I got this in the mail this week, and I just wanted to, I'm proud of it. It took a year to get this. I just wanted to show folks, congratulations. This certificate confirms that William Reel has completed the Somatic Trauma Informed Coaching and Leadership Qualification, CMI Level 7 Diploma in Strategic Management and Leadership Practice, whatever that means, 7D30, 30th September 2025. And this was the Carolyn Strawson, who's the CEO of School of Trauma Informed Positive Psychology. And this school's over in the UK, highly regarded. And it was difficult, especially as it got to the second half of the course. It got quite challenging, but I finally finished it, got the certificate, and folks can, thank you.
Yes. Bill, congratulations to you.
Yeah. And so folks, if anybody does need extra support out there, wants to sit down, talk about things, try to process things, you can go to awakenandthrive.org. We have a support group currently going. That one is completely full, and we've done 2 meetings already. We'll meet again in 2 weeks, but we do have a waiting list for the other support group, and we're doing $60 a month, and that gets you attendance into 2 support group sessions each month. So the cost is low, and I think the folks that are in there are enjoying it so far. I think they're finding a lot of connection and community, and we're just now starting to unroll some resources and tools to help process things that people have been through and in dealing with in life. So there's that. All right, now to something big. We've got a new apostle,
and he's really big.
Elder Cossé.
He can dunk a basketball.
How tall is Elder Cossé?
He's like 8 feet tall.
I don't know that.
He's freakishly tall.
Is he?
Yes, especially for a Frenchman.
Let's see here. How tall is Elder Cossé? Doesn't say anywhere in here.
See, the rulers, they don't even go that high.
They must not.
It's true with the ruler. Measuring tapes don't even go that high.
I thought what was interesting about this, I mean, there's not a lot of controversial stuff out there on him. He seems to have a pretty decently clean past in terms of what we all can gather publicly, but he was in the the what do they call it? The
presiding bishopric.
presiding bishopric.
Guys who are the ones in power, and three of the 5 people on planet Earth who know everything that's in the EPA.
These guys are privy to more information behind the scenes about the church than the quorum of the 12 apostles. And so it makes perfect sense that members of the presiding bishopric would make their way into being in the top 15 of the church. These are guys who are already church broke, promised their loyalty, will keep all the secrets. And as the Salt Lake Tribune article says, new LDS apostle is European, cares about the environment, and knows a lot about the church, about the faith's finances. So he is part of that insider group that knows exactly how much money and the 13 dummy companies and how all that was worked out.
Which leads to the strange, but I think accurate conclusion that if the information we have is correct, that in the top 15, First Presidency and Quorum of the 12 is currently constituted, there are 2 people who know the extent of the church's holdings, and it is the most senior person and the most junior person.
Well, hold on. If you're referring to Dieter Uchtdorf, he would be okay.
Oaks, he's the president of the church. He's received his briefing by now.
Yes.
And Elder Causet, who just came over from the presiding bishopric.
Wouldn't Dieter Uchtdorf also know, since he was in the First Presidency, and Elder Eyring from the past as well?
The information that I have, and I have no idea how strictly they follow this stuff, or if they tell their wives or whatever.
Right.
But there are 5 people, is my understanding from the whistleblower report. There is the president of the church, there are the 3 members of the presiding bishopric, and there is the general manager of the EPA, which was Roger Clark for many years.
So the counselors in the First Presidency are not necessarily privy to this information.
That's my understanding.
Ooh. Secrets among the people who keep secrets.
Even their secrets have secrets.
We have top men on it. Top men? Top men. Who are they? Top men. All right.
I didn't have to be snakes. Okay. Let's go. Let's go on from here. I've got to say something, and Rob is on the screen. Rob, when I heard this announcement, there are people who are running out there and making podcasts about it, like it was freaking Moses coming down from the mount with the tablet still smoking. And I'm going, who cares? It's just another cookie cutter apostle, yes man, who says the same things as everybody else. And I find it incredibly uninteresting, but maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the odd man out. What do you think?
Yeah, hello, this is Rob. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, Rob.
Yeah, no, that's fair. It may be a little different because, as you just said, he knows the finances. He was behind it all. So, maybe that's a little different, but that's fair.
Okay. Well,
thank you. So what did you call about?
I just want to make a comment. I listen to all the Mormonism live episodes, but almost never live. I always download them and listen in podcast form later when I'm walking the dog or driving or whatever. And I wanted to comment about the recent episode titled "The Preparatory Path of Dallin Oaks." This was the one with the top 20 countdown. Like a Casey Kasem coming in at number 20.
I remember that we said it was top 10, and then we cheated. It actually became 20.
Yes.
20 incredibly, I think, problematic things that President Oaks has said or done that he brings with him into his office as the new president of the church.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, that list is, it's certainly representative, but it's not exhaustive.
No.
We've
made no claim of it, just so you know. But you got something else you want to throw on the fire?
I do, and this was a talk that Dallin Oaks gave at BYU in October of 2020, so in the thick of COVID. And I've shown this to a couple of friends and some family members, and they all kind of just shrug their shoulders, which would lead me normally to think that there's something I'm missing that I don't get, but I can't figure out what it is, and it really bothers me. So, by the way, let me. I just posted a link to the talk there in the chat. So if that went through, if you want to follow along, you can.
I don't. My friend, are you putting in the chat with the folks watching, or in the private chat with us?
In the chat with the folks watching.
Okay.
So this was a talk at BYU, October 2020, and of course, so the thick of COVID, and right after the shutdowns happened in May, there was the George Floyd killing, and that sparked the Black Lives Matter movement, and then the summer of unrest, of riots and looting.
The
all that
summer
stuff.
of love. I remember it well.
Yes.
So now it's October, and what is he saying? What is this in general conference?
No, it's a talk at BYU, and if you do have it up on your screen and you want to follow, Dallin Oaks always gives the Roman numerals in his talks. This is the second paragraph under Roman numeral 3. Okay.
Hey,
Now,
can you post a link in the private chat on the right there of StreamYard?
Oh, sure. Let me see if this works.
Folks said that the link doesn't go into YouTube when you do it that way. So nobody's seen that link. And if I get it, I'll put it up on the screen so that people can follow along.
Bill is brilliant that way.
There's lots of ways I'm not brilliant, but
that way you're pretty brilliant.
Once in a while, I get something right.
Take what you can get.
That's right. Beggars can't be choosers. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth.
A man's got to know his limitations.
That's right.
Okay. Did that go through, Bill?
It did. So let me
okay.
Put that up on the screen and share.
Okay. So this is a talk, Elder Oaks, October 2020, BYU, Roman numeral 2.
Correct.
What's called
Roman numeral 3.
And other challenges.
So Roman numeral number 3.
Hey, I have echoing, Bill.
Say what?
We're all echoing, I think.
Oh, let me get the sound off. There you go. Let's do that.
Okay, Rob.
Yes.
Are we under 2? That looks like a 3 to me, Bill.
It's number 3.
It is 3. Okay.
So the second paragraph, and this talk got some controversy because in it he says that Black Lives Matter, and that got the headlines.
Yes.
Yes. So that second paragraph, he says the shocking police-produced death of George Floyd in Minnesota last May was surely the trigger for these nationwide protests whose momentum was carried forward under the message of Black Lives Matter. Of course, Black Lives Matter. That is an eternal truth all reasonable people should support. That's what got all the headlines. That's what made it controversial. But what I found much more, that doesn't bother me. What bothers me is what he says right next. He says, unfortunately, that persuasive banner was sometimes used or understood to stand for other things that do not command universal support. Examples include abolishing the police, or seriously reducing their effectiveness, or changing our constitutional government. All these are appropriate subjects for advocacy, but not under what we hope to be the universally accepted message, Black Lives Matter. So, according to Dallin Oaks, former Utah State Supreme Court Justice, current president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, it is appropriate to advocate for the abolishment of the police. But what am I missing? Is that's pretty disturbing. Am I missing something here?
It's completely appropriate in the public realm and in the political realm to advocate either for or against any of those subjects.
As I read it, all these are appropriate subjects for advocacy. I don't know. I find that.
I'm just saying that would include also advocacy the other way around. I mean, I don't think that Elder Oaks is trying. I see what you're saying from the syntax of the sentence and how it is that you're going to where you're getting. But I don't think for a second that Elder Oaks wanted that to be read or intended for it to be interpreted that he was in support of changing the constitutional government or abolishing the police. No, he's not in favor of that.
Well, I can't imagine that he would be, but there it is. I mean,
you see, that's why I can't believe that it means the way you're interpreting it, though I can see how it is that you're interpreting it that way.
I think RFM's right. When you look at the last sentence, when you take in all these are appropriate subjects for advocacy, but it's really what comes after, but not under what we would not under what we hope to be the universally accepted message, Black Lives Matter. In other words, that one shouldn't be challenged from the con perspective. It's perfectly reasonable to be for or against in terms of your advocacy in the public realm for any issue, but it doesn't make any sense to him that anyone would push back against the idea that Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, I read that last sentence as being it's appropriate to advocate for any of these things, but not under the banner of Black Lives Matter.
Okay, Rob, so say you're right. What then?
Well, I don't know. I just think that it's another list, make it 21 lists of weird things that Dallin Oaks has said.
I think he could have been more pellucid in the way he put that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you're right. I don't think that he means that the way that I'm interpreting it, but I'm just reading it black and white here, and that's the way that it reads to me.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm too, I don't know, cynical, but I just think that's a very strange, if nothing else, a strange way to word it.
Well, there are legal statutory, what is it called? When you're interpreting statute, there are certain rules to it. And they're just very commonplace rules, but some of them have to do, if you're interpreting this statute over here, then it's perfectly fine to look at other statutes and other titles and how they interrelate to this statute. And so if you find, in other words, you can look at other things that they've said in order to understand how this particular thing should be interpreted.
Sure.
And like I said, it's just impossible for me to believe that Elder Oaks meant for it to come across the way that it could come across. And that was his fault, I think. That's where I think he could have been more clear, and he failed to be.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I don't think that's what he meant. I'm just reading his words, and so I found it disturbing. That's all.
Well, it's interesting that you were reading his words. I mean, good for you. What brought that on? Why were you reading his words?
Well, my in-laws are I don't want to get political here. My in-laws are pretty liberal, and they sent like a group text in the family with that talk and celebrated that Dallin Oaks said Black Lives Matter. And I just went to go read what he actually said. And that doesn't bother me.
Way, they would have had more to celebrate.
Well, that's part of the, like I said, I've shown this, I've shown this to family members and some friends, and everybody just kind of shrugs their shoulders, but I found it strange and weird.
Well, I wonder how strange and how weird Elder Oaks really is.
Well, that's also fair. I just was wondering if maybe you could shed some light on it and what your thoughts were.
Guess. But as Charlie Rich used to say, no one knows what goes on behind closed doors.
Well, it's a true statement. Anyway, I'll get off the air. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but appreciate
Rob,
yes.
It's always good to see you. Well, as much as I can. It's always good to hear from you, at least.
Well, there he is. All right. Pellucid, you leave it up to you to always pull out the show-stopping word no one's ever heard, use it in its context, and let all the rest of us know that maybe we're not as smart as we think we are.
Oh, come on now. I'm just glad I got Charlie Rich. Boy, that was famous. That was on the radio. They play it on the school bus when we go out to cross-country meets, and all of us were thinking, yeah, no one knows what goes on behind closed doors, but we were doing our best to imagine it.
Well, yeah, you when you don't see things, it is left to the imagination, huh?
Yes, and I was seeing a lot of nothing.
Yeah. This was in the Salt Lake Tribune this week. By the way, I don't see these guys rushing out. If you remember right, when you and I were at Thrive in Salt Lake City.
Yes, November of 2021.
Yes. The Salt Lake Tribune ran an article running John DeLyn's and the Thrive organization sort of through the mud.
That's right.
And what I noticed from that is that the Salt Lake Tribune pretends to be the other newspaper competing against the Deseret News in an effort to show, objectiveness and not be biased and have the other side of the story. But when it comes to the church, they really do go above and beyond to ensure that they either A, don't piss off the church, or B, keep their LDS readership, which I can't believe is significant numbers, super happy. And this shows up in the Salt Lake Tribune. We're not apologizing for being Latter-day Saints. New podcast seeks to give believers a boost of confidence. Now, I can imagine the benefit that we would have, or Mormon Stories or Mormonish or any other ex-Mormon, critical Mormon podcast would have with the Salt Lake Tribune doing an article like this.
Yes, if that freaking rag, the Tribune, did an article like this. Who are these people? Upon what meat doth this our Caesar feed, that he is grown so great? What are their connections? And why is it that they get a feature on a new podcast and not something that's been chugging along for 9 years, in my case, and longer in yours?
Especially when one of the two groups of content creators tell the truth about history, put the documents up on the screen, give the benefit of the doubt to the other side when the facts add up to that, acknowledge the flaws in one's own argument, and point out the flaws in the other. No one does a more complete job than the two of us at demonstrating that the history doesn't add up. And these guys are just shills for the faith. You've got Neil Rappley, Jasmine Rappley, and our good old friend, Mr. Bukaki, Stephen Smoot.
Yes, famous, ever famous Stephen Bukake Smoot.
So I saw this, I gave it a little read, and there was nothing interesting in it. Although Smoot says something here, it was the one thing out of the entire article I thought was worth at least reading to the audience and getting your 2 cents on. So please.
And for sure, Bill, this was an article and not a paid ad.
This is Tamra Kemsley, who is a regular contributor journalist for the Salt Lake Tribune.
Tamara, come on, what's going on? Tell us the truth. Why are you kowtowing to these people and ignoring the good stuff?
Yeah. So, Tamara, whenever you're ready, RFM and I would love to sit down, help people that are in the audience of the Salt Lake Tribune understand the other side of what's going on in the arena of Mormonism, podcasting, and defending or critiquing the church. RFM, would you read this bottom left-hand section with what Stephen Smoot says? And then as soon as you get done reading it, I want to know what your thoughts are.
Stephen Smoot says this: another big constituency of ours, they got so many big constituencies, they don't know what to do with them. Another big constituency of ours, he says, is anybody who's trying to find reliable information. Oh, you have got to be kidding me, Steve. That is laughable. It's risible. R-I-S-I-B-L-E. Highly risible. Mr. Smoot. Yes, they are. For anybody looking for reliable information is not any part of your constituency, just so you know. And then he says the full name of the church, which I don't have life enough left in me to pronounce. There are sincere individuals on social media who are just misinformed on a lot of topics, unlike us who know everything, and we're so dang smart. We get everything right. Just look at us. Look at how mature we are. I think I've got more years on me than all three of them put together. There are also bad faith actors, he says. There are also bad faith actors with less than pure intentions in terms of what kind of information they're sharing about the church. Now, that is really a funny thing, because he calls these people, let's just say it's me, okay? I know it's you, but we'll pretend it's me. He says there are bad faith actors. They have impure intentions. And how does he define it? Not that they're lying, but in terms of, he says it, what kind of information they're sharing about the church. They're sharing the negative stuff that's true. That's the stuff Rappley and company are trying to hide from the members. I think that's quite revealing. Do you want to say anything about that? And then I'll continue reading to the end.
Yeah. What I want to say is there are only two kinds of people in this world. There are the people who are just misinformed on a lot of topics. And then there are those who are bad faith actors who, with less than pure intentions in terms of what kind of information they're sharing about the church. Now, we're the bad faith actors when they won't answer the questions. They won't tell the full story. They won't put up the documents. they won't walk people through the entire issue, and they won't allow people to see the collective mess rather than isolate one issue at a time. But we're the bad faith actors. I thought this was hilarious.
When I think about Stephen Smoot, I think about a mind is a terrible thing to waste. He goes on. So another part of our mission is to inform anybody who might be passing along on the sidewalk. We'll just grab them and haul them over and inform them against their will. So another part of our mission is to inform anybody who might get onto Google. Oh my God, they're on Google or social media, even worse, to look up stuff about the Mormons. So another part of their mission is to inform anybody. Inform them of what? Inform them? I guess give them the true scoop. That's what he's trying to say. We're going to give them the real scoop. They went on Google. They went on social media. They went trying to look up stuff about the Mormons. They got it all wrong because we're the only ones who have it all right. So we're going to inform those poor people.
It's a funny thing when the liars tell you they're the truth tellers and they tell you the truth tellers are the liars. It's such a tricky business.
And yet an old story, as George Orwell put it, in a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act.
I was listening today to, I think it's the Senate. I don't think it was Congress. It was the Senate. And, you know, the Republicans and the Democrats are both getting up at the microphone and belittling the other group as having the lesser of good intentions for the American public. And you listen to it long enough and you go, I can see you both sides. You guys are both performing. You are both trying to capture sound bites. You're both trying to say things in a way as to, by your words, make the other person feel bad, but you're both doing it and nobody feels bad. And I think that like that same kind of thing occurs here where these guys look you in the face and they tell you that those other guys, that Radio Free Mormon, that Bill Reel, that John DeLynn, don't trust them.
No.
Meanwhile,
they will tell you the rest of the story. They'll tell you the stuff we're hiding. They'll tell you the stuff we're trying desperately to keep you from finding out about.
Yeah. Remember, these are the guys almost assuredly who created LDS Bot. That when you keep asking questions that push LDS Bot into a corner and force LDS Bot to tell the truth, it disengages like Dan Peters, faster than Dan Peterson on a vacation trip. And gone it is. It no longer wants to talk to you. Anyway, Stephen Bukkake Smoot, Jasmine Rapoli.
At some point, we're going to have to repeat why it is that he has earned that sobriquet. I don't know if tonight's the night, but the audience continues to grow. By the way, congratulations on going past 30,000 subscribers, Mr. Reel.
Hey, look at that. Our channel went above 30,000 subscribers. And I have to be honest, I'm jealous. It doesn't matter if you're a liar or an obfuscator or a deceiver. When you put out pro-Mormon content, you'll just end up with more views. David Alexander, who for all intents and purposes is just a lying sack of shit, does pretty well with his channel continuing to grow. And so as long as you have a faithful bent, I told you the other day on the phone, I said, you and I should have just stayed in the church.
Or go back now. There's still a chance.
And kept producing faith-promoting material from the inside and just sat with our own feelings and not been true to ourselves, we'd have a much bigger channel today.
Yes, it's amazing what having no integrity will get you.
Yeah. What is that old graphic with comfortable lie and everybody's lined up out the door and an inconvenient truth and nobody stands in line and wants it. It really is belief persistence, my friend.
Yes. Okay. So congratulations to that threesome for their publicity, which was well earned.
Yeah. What do you think, DG? What do you think about
Hi, DG.
Bukkake, Jasmine, and Neil creating a faithful podcast. By the way, it's obvious that they've gotten a little turned off by the other folks in this arena, that they've stepped away from Book of Mormon Central. They stepped away from the other places that they promote their voice. And this is where they're putting their energy in. And one has to wonder if folks on that side see how profitable a faithful podcast could be.
It just keeps the echo chamber going for them, I think.
DG,
I'm not too worried.
Do you know what bukkake is?
It's what I step on when I'm out at the ranch.
Well, that's
really?
That's caca.
I don't know what's going on at night at your ranch, but
Shinola, right?
You should get the security camera footage.
I'm not too worried because we have in the Exmo universe, we've got the Exmo Godhead with all of you wonderful people producing Exmo content. We have the Father and the Son, and I think Kolabi is probably the Holy Ghost.
Oh, really? Well, I may be on the side of the angels, but don't for one moment confuse
Rebecca's
me.
our Heavenly Mother that we can't talk about, right? And I think John DeLynn is probably Lucifer. So that's where my faith lies. But anyway.
Can you imagine how many millions of years Heavenly Mother has been calling us for dinner?
Yeah. And we're still not there. We're late. Just don't call me late for dinner.
By the way, I don't think, by the way, it would have originated with you. I'm definitely not going to take credit for this, but you gave Stephen Smoot the nickname Bukkake, but I don't think so. I think he
gave it to himself.
He referenced the
he
word.
He knew what bukkake was.
Yes.
Sweet, innocent, boyish-faced Stephen Smoot knew what bukkake was and used it in a phrase which he thought was witty, and it wasn't, but he's using it as an expression, talking about tapir bukkake. Okay, DG, you forced it out of me. Here's what happened. Okay, this is like back in 2017, was it? It could have been 18. And it's on Bill Reel's Facebook page. I think it's the winter. It's toward the end of the year. And Bill's talking for the umpteenth time about how he can't get a freaking apologist on his show to save his soul, because they won't come on. They're always too busy. They're always coming up with excuses. And Stephen Smoot shows up out of nowhere. And he starts interacting. And he started a sub-thread, which became very long, very fast. And in that, he starts talking about tapirs and tapir bukkake. He was the one who brought it up. And then I started saying, I can't believe, how is it that you know what bukkake is? Most people, at least on this side of the international date line, don't know what bukkake is. And how is it that you do? And so I went to sleep that night. I'm following this. I finally went to sleep, nodding off as I'm reading all of this fun stuff going on and watching Stephen Smoot desperately try to preserve what was left of his virtue. And then I wake up in the morning, and what had been a 600 comment thread was now like 240 comments. And I said, what the heck? How does that happen? And I went on there, and because Stephen Smoot had started this sub-thread, all the hundreds of comments underneath it, he deleted his, which deleted all of the rest of them that were responding to his. But fortunately, someone had the forethought to take a few screen grabs of the pertinent screens and posts.
And I think what's hilarious about this, so what makes this worse, so Stephen has acknowledged in the past, I believe, that he's a bisexual man, that his sexual preferences, that his sexual attractions are with men and women, and which is no big deal. Who cares? People can be gay, people can be bisexual. I don't care about that. But what is interesting is that bukkake is generally a homosexual term for a man in the middle, generally, with a bunch of other men around doing a homosexual act. Now, it can be a woman too, but generally
it's always been a woman in the porno flicks I watch, Bill. I don't know about you.
Yeah, well, I'm just telling you. And I'll just say, by the way, I'm a convert to the church at 17, and the internet was around when I was a kid, and yes. I looked up everything. I wanted to know what I liked and what I didn't like, and I looked up all the things. I can tell you this much: not into bukkake, but
so you knew what bukkake was?
Oh, I knew what bukkake was. But Stephen Smoot, knowing what it is as a faithful, believing, good Latter-day Saint, you sort of go like, oh, he threw that word out because he wanted to sound smart, but that's generally not the kind of word you'd want to throw out to sound smart.
There's a picture floating around somewhere on the internet that I don't have right now, where he has his, I think it's a blog, and it's something in, I don't know, is it Hebrew? It's Almoni Poloni. I'm serious. It's like, it's in the runner. He's the runner-up for the worst blog title in the history of the world. It's like Poloni or something. He had it put on a t-shirt with some kind of screening process, but he created it with a design that mimicked the Pornhub logo.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going on with Steve Smoot, but sounds like a wild time.
Apologists aren't even pretending to be good human beings anymore.
All that research you did made you a good bishop, Bill. And I can't wait for the Steve Smoot hearings to come out.
It didn't, by the way, made me a good bishop. It didn't hurt. That's for sure. Having an awareness of how the world operates and having a lens that I grew up with completely outside of Mormonism, I think helped me make much more rational decisions as a bishop and be a much healthier bishop to the people that I had stewardship for.
DG, did you want to say something?
I just wanted to say congratulations, Bill, on your qualification.
Oh.
Tomorrow, BYU takes on Texas Tech here in Lubbock, and I just thought this was interesting. I think it was on probably one of the newscasts or one of the podcasts a couple of weeks ago. Y'all were covering about the college game day. BYU was they were trying to get college game day to come and showcase their football program. And
yes,
who was the gambling guy that they promised if he wouldn't swear, they would agree to all this as long as he agreed not to swear.
You know who that is, Bill? I forget the name.
Anyway, they're going to be in Lubbock tomorrow, so BYU will actually be featured on game day here in Lubbock right before the Texas Tech football game. So,
are you going to be there?
I would throw all my money in support of your lawsuit, but I'm going to be spending money hoping to defeat BYU tomorrow here in Lubbock. So that's what I'm going to be.
You're paying off the refs. Good idea.
Yeah. I know the entity's Barstool, but I don't remember what his name is.
Right. He was like the CEO of Barstool Sports. But anyway, you alluded to, oh God, the movie from 1977 at the top of the show. Do you know who starred opposite George Burns?
Sure.
John Denver. John Denver was in that film. John Denver, the famous singer, was actually a student here at Texas Tech. He was an architecture student back in the early 60s before he began his more lucrative music career. But yeah, John Denver was also in Oh God, and Oh God Book 2, I think, was the sequel, if I remember correctly.
So what was what was his German name back then? It's
Deutsch. Deutsch. They called him Deutsch, but I think it was
because that's German.
Yeah, Duschendorf.
Duschendorf.
Yeah,
maybe that
Henry
was it.
John Duschendorf Jr. So, but yeah, he was here way back in the early.
I understand why he changed that name.
Yeah. Actually, I know the guy that supposedly talked him into changing his name and not pursuing architecture anymore. But anyway, that's for another story. But I want to say congratulations on your qualification, Bill, and had a great time last week on the Halloween episode. It was a riot.
Boy, I was not anticipating that. There were at least two things that happened on that show that were not on my bingo card.
And I always y'all put me on at the weirdest moments, who I followed and who I preceded. And now Bukake, I can't wait until next week. I'm kind of wondering where I'm going to be interdisposed.
Well, you're coming right after the Bukake is what you're doing, DG. Now, is it the Red Raiders down there?
Yes, Texas Tech Red Raiders.
Wahoo. Why is it the Red Raiders?
They were actually, I'm trying to remember. They were the Matadors. The team was originally called the Matadors back in the 1930s, and it was a sports commentator that commented on their red uniforms.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of the red Matadors, they became the Red Raiders, and the name stuck. And I was told incorrectly the show started 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
But it interrupted with my Star Trek viewing tonight. So tonight I thought I'd be a red shirt and be a victim. So
most of our viewers are victims at some point during the beginning and the end of the show.
Rightfully so.
Especially if they call in, the chances go way up.
By the way,
You're quite
DG,
brave.
as we're debating John Denver's best song, a lot of people think it's "Take Me Home, Country Roads," but well, you can say whatever you want, RFM.
I think it's very popular.
I was to say, I think it's Grandma's Feather Bed. You know, it was 9 feet high and 6 feet wide and soft as a downy chick. It was made from the feathers of 47 geese. And then blah, blah, blah. You know, whatever the rest of it.
Whole bolt of cloth for the tick.
I think it was Grandma's Feather Bed that was his best song ever.
Really?
I would argue it was probably Leaving on a Jet Plane. He authored that.
Yeah, he wrote that.
He wrote that one, yeah. He didn't. He sang it, and it was more popular, sung by other artists. But
Peter, Paul, and Mary had a
number of
big hit
hits.
with it.
Yeah. Take Me Home, Country Roads is very popular, and they're in Virginia. But yeah, he started his career here in Lubbock and went on to much bigger fame and fortune. Tragic loss. He was killed in a plane crash.
Experimental aircraft, and his dad was a pilot.
Yeah, his dad flew B-58 Hustlers in the Air Force. He actually was born in Roswell, which is just 2.5 hours west of here. So yeah,
Can you see the glow on the horizon?
Say again?
Can you see the glow on the horizon, like at midnight when you look in? What you'd be looking west, wouldn't you?
We see a lot of lights here. The Lubbock lights among them, and several other things.
The Lubbock lights. Now that was back in the 1950s or 40s, and the common understanding is that, or the naturalistic explanation of these lights that kept flying over, were seen by many people flying over Lubbock at night, over many nights, was that it was probably what they thought was it was the lights of the town reflecting off the white underbelly of flying geese going over the city. Is that right?
Yes, a big V formation. So as the geese would fly over, in the form of a flying V, that's what they were thinking they saw was the geese at night.
So, I think I just brushed up my X-Files credentials.
Yes, indeed.
Thanks a lot, DG. Have an awesome night.
I remembered the Lubbock lights.
Take it easy.
Take care.
Bye-bye. That was like in one of those books that you would get about UFOs, with the collection of grainy black and white pictures in the middle section of the book. The middle section was only photos, and it was on a different kind of paper stock than the newsprint for the rest of the paperback before and after. Anyway, this is back in the 60s or so when they had this, maybe the 70s. But yeah, the Lubbock lights. There was a time where I was somewhat of a student in the UFO phenomenon.
Oh man, we've imitated it a few times for various shows, but it's the radio program that's on it late at night.
Art Bell, Coast to Coast.
Coast to Coast. Were you a big listener of that?
No, I would listen from time to time. Art Bell has a wonderful voice. I fortunately did not have to drive truck at all hours of the night, and a lot of truckers listened in. I would listen in from time to time. I found that his shtick, if I may call it that, what made him so successful was not just his voice, which was absolutely incredible. What a wonderful voice Art Bell had, but that people could call in. He would have guests on his show, of course. But people would call in. His guests would talk about the most ridiculous, outlandish things imaginable. And though I didn't listen to him a lot, I listened to him enough, and I never once heard Art Bell register any degree of disbelief in what it was they were saying. He believed it all. He presented as totally open, believing it all, and being amazed and awed by it. So he could be the voice of his audience and react to it. I think that's why it was that he was so popular. I do believe that there is an unspoken rule among people who believe in paranormal and parapsychological events of all stripes, is that when they get together, the unspoken rule is, I will believe your bullshit if you believe mine. And then they all get along together.
Yeah.
And they have a wonderful time.
I listened to maybe 50 hours total of Art Bell. There were just times I was out late at night, having to either drive to something or do something. And if you are, if you're dropping somebody off at the airport, for instance, and driving back, and for me, it was an hour or so each way, hour and a half each way. You want something that keeps you awake, and listening to his phone calls come in, the callers come in that would speak of their personal experiences, and they would be sort of crazy things. And, and Art thing, I think, did a great job of transitioning from one call to the next. And as you said, feeding those stories. It was great content to keep you awake for a long drive at night.
And the bumper music that he had, phenomenal. So simple, but so powerful and driving and atmospheric. So moody. I play that. You can listen to entire episodes of his without commercials on YouTube.
If a gun were to your head and you had to pick, not today because there's so many other options, but 1980s, 1990s, 1970s, whatever. If you had to pick AM radio or FM radio, you only could keep one. FM had so much music choices, but there was just a few things on AM that FM just couldn't compete with.
I remember FM. I mean, there was actually a movie, I think, that was named FM. I think, and there was an album that was released as well, a record album. I don't think I saw it, but there were some famous songs that came from it. It was a big deal back in the 70s. I don't know about the 60s. It certainly might have been. But the idea was you turn it to FM, you got much better sound. You've got much more serious sounding DJs who are talking about the music than banging on pots and pans and yelling and throwing rubber chickens like on AM.
But all the talk
AM was more tinny, but I always listened to AM. Yes.
Yeah. AM was all the talk shows. By the way, folks, if you're old enough to have spent a considerable amount of time in AM or FM radio, would you please put in the live chat? Let us know what you would pick. Would you prefer AM? Would you prefer FM? I would go AM because it was all the sports talk radio shows. It was Art Bell. It was all of the political talk shows that had interesting conversations happening. And I was much more entertained and excited by information than just making the day go by with music.
You forgot the most important thing. Casey Kasem.
Casey Kasem. I'm the top 30. We're going to go down to number 19. Yeah. Good old Casey Kasem.
Yeah. When I'm in my teens and such, the radio's for one thing, and that's music.
Yeah. Maybe I was just a little more cultured back then than you, which no one's going to believe because every reference.
No, I'm sure that you were. Absolutely. No, almost everybody was. I resisted learning anything, and I was successful for quite a long time.
Yeah, that was the problem. I took a bunch of information in and wasn't that successful. So you were killing it. Dave's down below. Just before I bring him in, just one other thing I wanted to just mention was the church won't use AI to create images of Jesus Christ.
Because that would be sacrilegious, Bill.
Aren't their pictures just as fucking made up as AI pictures?
Yes, of course they are.
What's the difference?
There is no difference. The difference is that they think it's sacrilegious for a computer to draw a picture, or for them to use a computer as a tool to draw a picture of Jesus, whereas get Del Parsons to do it. God's happy. Everybody's happy.
We don't know what Jesus looks like. They don't know what Jesus looks like. They have him as a hippie-haired white European man, and we're supposed to pretend that they know the right Jesus, hence what AI would create would be useless. You might as well use AI for this. There's no reason not to, and their reason doesn't make any sense. But they say also they won't use AI to prepare conference talks. That's what Elder Gong says. And what I thought was interesting was this. It says those attending General Conference should be able to have confidence that all General Conference messages to church leaders are divinely inspired. By the way, he gave away the game. He says that their conference messages to church leaders are divinely inspired. I thought they were to the members from the church leaders, but we've always been told they're actually talking to the people behind them, not to the rest of us.
That's what it says. If you're going to insist on the word of the letter, then, or the letter of the word, or the strict meaning, then yeah, that's what it means. That's what it means. But I got to think he did mean that actually. He probably meant
Elder Gong said because AI cannot replace divine inspiration. Well, actually think it could. I don't think you guys are doing a great job making a case for the power and efficacy of divine revelation.
These guys are so uninspired. The stuff that they write for their own general conference talks puts AI to sleep.
Sure as hell, AI could write a better talk than to young men only, right? Like, don't touch the little factory. Yeah, I just think that it's a ridiculous idea that these men speak by divine inspiration, because there's nothing that conveys that at all.
Not only do they not speak by divine inspiration, they don't even speak with secular inspiration.
To the point where we had maybe a year, 2 years ago, we had a gentleman who was really good at creating AI realistic sort of videos or somewhat kind of animated. And you can go back on our YouTube channel, and if you go find, I think there's one playlist that says something about AI or something along those lines. If you go back and watch those, there's a video of President Nelson who's apologizing, and he's standing up in front, and people commented on that video and said, I can't, where did you get this? Where did he say this?
Oh,
it's because it isn't difficult at all.
He wasn't really apologizing.
Mormon lead. No, it's not difficult at all to imitate Mormon leaders pretending to have divine inspiration. That's an easy thing because it isn't divine inspiration at all. And it can be shown to be something other than that just by the data alone. But anyway, it says here, because AI cannot replace divine inspiration nor the individual work that invites it, we ask general conference speakers not to use AI to create initial drafts or final versions of their messages.
So what he's actually saying is that these talks are written individually in order to have divine inspiration.
Have you ever heard of
AI? Because AI cannot replace the divine inspiration, right? Nor the individual work that invites it.
Yeah.
We ask general conference speakers not to use AI, and I'm looking at you, Elder Razband, to create initial drafts or final versions of their messages. The reason this struck me as funny was, first off, the reasons you've mentioned, but also because it put me in mind of something that happened rather recently, which was this. Now, this is funny, okay, because once again, let's talk about AI, shall we? I typed into my Google search engine, who was it who admitted to helping write Elder M. Russell Ballard General Conference talks? Because I remember that it happened recently. And that sounded funny because here Elder Gong is talking about you get the Spirit through individual work. Well, Elder Ballard apparently used other people. The funny thing is that's the question I asked. The answer that AI gives me is bogus. It says no specific individual has publicly admitted to being the primary author or ghostwriter of M. Russell Ballard's General Conference talks. Okay? Notice that's not what I asked. I said, who was it who admitted to helping? And it tells me something that is an answer to a question I did not ask, and goes on and gives fluff about how great General Conference is and the talks that are written. On the same page that AI has told me this, if you look at the bottom right, there's an article I can link on. It's from Reddit. It says, did you guys know that general authorities don't write their ... I thought, oh, let me look at that. And here's what it says. Did you guys know that general authorities don't write their own talks? Notice this is from 11 years ago. And this fellow, temple name is Jesse, says, I'm writing this because it just came up in another thread and I thought it would make a good post. Back a few years ago, while I was still TBM, a good friend of mine, also TBM, told me that his dad wrote talks for Elder Ballard on occasion. I was surprised, but I saw no reason to call him a liar. I mean, politicians have talks and speeches written for them almost exclusively, right? I don't know what type of arrangement my friend's dad has with Ballard, other than that they have a couple of businesses together. Yeah, it sounds like a connection. I told a different friend as well as my wife at the time, and they seemed offended at the thought that every single word wasn't beamed down from God, straight out of their mouths. I didn't let it bother me. Fast forward 5 years, and I was speaking with my friend with the dad/Ballard relationship after we had both left the church, and he said that his father writing talks was a big reason his shelf broke.
I think it's fair to say that you don't want AI writing church talks because that takes away from the spirit of a human thought out, studied the context of, wrote the delivery of the talk. But it means nothing when these guys hire professional writers to write their talks for them.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? So guess what? I don't know if this guy's friend's dad, right? The one who's writing the talks here for him in Ballard, allegedly 11 years ago, is the same guy who ends up being over here. So click here if you believe Google AI, because here is the short of the man who was publicly stating that he had written talks and helped Elder Ballard with his talks at Elder Ballard's request on numerous occasions over many years, though he tries to downplay what he's bragging about admirably.
Do we want to play any of this?
Yes, the whole thing.
Okay, let's see if I can make the sound a little more. And let me refresh it.
You may remember this. We played this on the newscast a couple months ago. And I can't hear it.
Here we refresh this. Here we go.
Now I can.
Well, at that time, President Ballard was Elder Ballard and was one of the managing directors of the church public affairs department where I worked. And so he had to read my columns before they could be sent out. And one day, out of the blue, I'd never met him.
Okay, I got to say something now.
Yeah.
The church has to proofread the Deseret News's columns before they can be published. It's just a shill for the church. Obviously, we know that, but I thought that was an interesting piece of information itself.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, here it goes.
By the way, this language that's on the screen in yellow, and I'm echoing.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's okay. Says this former Deseret News journalist Joseph Walker, that's this guy, Joseph Walker, who was arrested for allegedly enticing a detective. I can't see it anymore. Oh, posing online as a 14-year-old girl. He also wrote conference talks and a biography for Elder M. Russell Ballard.
So a pedophile.
Yeah. An alleged pedophile.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
An alleged pedophile.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. An alleged pedophile. I'm glad we always cover each other's asses. I love it.
It saves on lawsuits.
Yeah, it does. I've got a lawyer, my friends. So an alleged pedophile wrote the talks for Russell Ballard by which people listened in the audience and felt the Holy Ghost, thinking that Elder Ballard had written his own talks.
You got it. But here he hasn't been caught yet, of course, but here he is bragging. He's bragging about writing these talks for Elder Ballard in the humblest of all ways, as only the best Mormons can do.
And one day, out of the blue, I'd never met him. One day he poked his head into my office space and he said, "Hey, you write like I talk. We should get together." And of course I was delighted. And from that time, that was, and I think that was in 1991. From that time to this, he and I have worked together on a number of different projects, on books and on giving some ideas and things with conference talks. And whenever I say that, I want to be very clear about one thing. There was never one idea from me in any of his conference talks that I worked with. They were his ideas, they were his thoughts, and usually he had done a rough draft, and then I just kind of went in and made transitions a little clearer, or worked a little bit with language and things like that. They were completely his ideas, but because he was so busy, because he had so much stuff going on, I just helped him a little bit in the background, and so that's the role I played for the past 31 years or so, and that's how he and I came together. And so when the time came to do the biography, it was great to have Susan Easton Black do it. She's a marvelous historian, a well-respected and appreciated and credited historian. But then they asked me to come in and add a little bit from my background with him. I kind of specialized in his talks, and so I was able to weave in experiences from his talks and things that he had done to kind of make it complete. The fact of the matter is, it's interesting, I think.
Okay, now here's the thing, Bill. After going to such great pains to state that he never, ever added anything of substance, and that they were all the ideas of Elder Ballard, they were not his idea. If you actually go back and play the very beginning, I think that you'll hear him say that he gave ideas to Elder Ballard. And I
well,
I'm
at
right.
that time, President Ballard was Elder Ballard, and was one of the managing directors of the church public affairs department where I worked. And so he had to read my columns before they could be sent out. And one day, out of the blue, I'd never met him. One day he poked his head into my office space, and he said, "Hey, you write like I talk. We should get together." And of course I was delighted. And from that time, that was and I think that was in 1991. From that time to this, he and I have worked together on a number of different projects, on books and on giving some ideas and things with conference talks. And
ideas and things. He was giving some ideas and things on conference talks. That's before he got all humble on us.
Yeah. He gave Elder Ballard ideas on conference talks, then took Elder Ballard's rough draft and made it a final copy. Why do we have prophets, seers, and revelators in the first place if they're just going to pay other people, ask other people who have no prophesying, seeing, or revelating to write their conference talks for them?
I will say it again, okay? Conference should be a time when men and women who are on fire with the Holy Ghost and actually have a message to give, look forward to and make the most of the 10 or 15 minutes that they have to pack it with their message, to set that crowd on end. But that's not the way it is, because nobody has a message. Nobody cares about it. It's a pain. It's a bother. So we just have some other guy who is excited to help, because you're an apostle, right?
An alleged pedophile.
Yeah, but he didn't know that at the time.
It still impacts whether the Holy Ghost can work with somebody, doesn't it? If one is a pedophile, and again, this guy allegedly. But
Can I just tell you that the Holy Ghost stays as far as possible away from General Conference twice a year. He comes nowhere near that. He knows what's good for him.
Doesn't he also stay away from pedophiles? Okay.
I don't. Well, we're kind of arguing about something that I'm not sure I totally believe in, but I was about to say, well, according to who, I don't know, but probably. Lord knows he stays away from me and guys wearing white hats.
All right. Well, talking about Okay, I'm just kidding, Damon Dave. I wouldn't do that to you.
No. That's not why he escaped.
Oh my God. Yeah. No, I was going to talk about the importance of not going pro se, because I'm in a situation right now that's going really well for me.
Do tell, Dave, why you did go to Mongolia and why you do need legal representation.
So here's what I can say, because there's an actual attorney involved. Is approximately 2 to 3 days ago, my wife received a phone call saying my F1 visa application was denied. However, the website says that it's pending. No legal written reason has been provided for this rejection. And under legal representation, we are filing an appeal, because from what the legal representation has indicated, this may be a shakedown at trying to get a bribe out of me before they approve it.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I can say right now.
So they can't get any money out of you if they don't deny it.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, there's been no legal writing format that's been provided on the website that gives updates. There's no legal reason that's given for the rejection. In fact, the website shows it's not even rejected. But the official number that called my wife said I was rejected. So all I can say is legal representation is involved, because it's just shady.
Is that a lawyer in Mongolia?
Yes. And it is a lawyer that specializes in immigration.
There's a famous phrase in Mongolian. I'll put it up. It's good advice to you, I think, in this moment.
Really?
Yeah, right there. It is pay the man.
Really? That looks like Cyrillic. Is that Cyrillic?
Nah. It's Cyrillic. Yes, it's Cyrillic.
Man.
I will say, because it's unrelated, my wife's web developer did say, if you have money in Mongolia, you will be fine. So
so when you're a lawyer in Mongolia, bribery is a feature, not a bug.
Well, it's I don't know how much I can say on that, other than it's not the lawyer that's asking for it.
I mean, he's the conduit.
Yeah, well, it's well known in when foreigners immigrate that there are individuals who will try to extract bribes. This lawyer is, how do I put this? He's a friend of the family. That's all I can say on that.
I know how it goes. I watched the Zorro.
Okay. I want to talk about AI, because this is wild to me. I pulled this up on my Facebook because you guys know that I left the church and I started deconstructing in like late 2024, right? Now, if the church doesn't want people to use AI, why did my bishop let me sit in the foyer making AI photos to inspire people to join the church? This was made on a Monday, 220,000 reactions during church. I've also made other like AI art during church
for our audience, and some of them will just be listening. But can you describe what it is that picture is?
Sure. So this picture is a pregnant Mother Mary, but because I was LDS at the time, I was hinting at this is the Heavenly Mother, right? And there's like an LDS theme to it in the coloration.
Okay.
And
a lot of people, or something on the head.
Yes, that is a crown on the head. This is on my Facebook. 220,000 reactions. And I was doing this AI art oftentimes during church services, and even taking pictures of myself in front of like Jesus and things like that, right? To inspire people to join the church when I was a member. Now, if the church doesn't want people using AI, why did I get permission from my bishop to sit in the foyer and do this? People brought out sacrament to me. I didn't have to sit in the thing. They brought out sacrament to me.
Yeah.
And I'm going to throw this link up in the private chat here. If the church doesn't want people to use AI for any kind of talk, why is Mimi Bascom, a decently known LDS influencer, talking about and encouraging people to use AI for their sacrament talks?
Yeah, I think what you're running into, Dave, and again, we could put that up and play it, but I'm looking at it right now, but I'll just say what the local leaders do, what local members do versus what the top 15 want the church to look like are just often not apples and apples.
And aside from the obvious fact that this woman should be put in jail for such a suggestion, sacrament meetings is interminable enough without having computers write the talks.
I don't know. I mean, I've heard some pretty boring talks. I think AI might actually make it better. Like,
that's how bad Mormonism is. You're right.
I mean, yeah,
it's so bad it makes the computers go to sleep.
Yeah, I think what you're running into is the difference between a local leader who, for whatever reason, wanted you to be out in the foyer and
not mingling with the general populace
and gave you some busy work, you know.
Did they say it was a special calling too?
Well, so here's the ironic thing, because I was offered callings, but I didn't take them because I'm like, look, I work, full time. I have questions about the church. At the time I had like 120,000 followers. Now I'm down to like 112, whatever. But at the time,
don't you, Bill?
I know, right?
We just got over 30.
But I had over 120,000 followers, and people are like, you know what? You don't need a calling. Just do this because you have followers in Africa, Southeast Asia. You have followers in India. People need to see the church. Why don't you just do this? Okay. And since my page is monetized, I made a decent amount of money off of it. You know what I mean?
Enough to go to Mongolia.
Well, I had a full-time job and other things too.
Yes.
But yeah. Someone said, pro tip, get out of Mongolia. No. My wife's family is here and my wife is staying here. So we can't, that's not in the cards.
Well, Dave, I've got to ask you the question, right? I'm sure it's on the minds of some members of the audience. What happens if your F1 visa application gets shot down?
So let's see. Here's the thing: we don't know that it is, but let's pretend that it is. Right. So here's what happens: me and the wife will take a month-long holiday to Jeju Island in South Korea, and then I get to come back next year in 2026. Right, so we stayed, the rest of this month, part of December. Then we come back because my visa as an American allows me a 90-day, 3-month visa-free stay. So then we come back on that visa, and then we just continue the process.
For 3 months.
For 3 months. And if it doesn't pan out in 3 months, then she wants to visit my family in America, so she would have to apply for what's called a B2 visa, in which case we go visit my mother and my grandmother for, about a month. And then we come back on 90 days. And then we just keep ping-ponging. That is the absolute worst case scenario, but given that things are already working out in my favor, I'm not expecting that. Although it would be cool to go to South Korea and actually go to Jeju Island, because I've been to South Korea, but I've never been to Jeju Island. So
I've never heard of the island. I'm not really familiar with Korea.
I'm honestly not either. But
I've heard of some of the islands in Japan. In fact, it's all islands.
Make sure
they went on a mission there.
Make sure you head to South Korea, not North Korea. Okay.
North Korea. You know what the ironic thing about
upright.
You know what the ironic thing about that comment is? Mongolia is actually very friendly with North Korea, and Mongolians do go to North Korea.
Interesting.
Because Mongolia is politically neutral. And so they are on good terms with both North and South Korea. So I don't understand that dynamic. I just go with it.
So Mongolia is the Switzerland of the Far East.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, they're allies with the US, they're allies with China, they're friendly with India, they're friendly with Russia. So,
all right. Well, thank you, Diamond Dave. Thanks for the update, and I'll let you go. And
I hope everything goes good with
AI
your
thing
F1
is
visa.
really what I wanted to talk about, though, because the AI thing and the hypocrisy of the church is wild to me.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
good points. Good points.
Yeah.
Well, they want to do things their way when they want things done their way.
That's right.
And it's kind of real quick before you let me go. I think it's kind of sad because it's I had privilege and I didn't realize it. Because being an influencer with that level of followers, I got around a lot of things, and I'm just now realizing it, right? Because like, if you want to be if you want to, you have to check all the boxes and do all the things. But if you have a big following, you don't necessarily have to like fit in the culture, but the church will still use you. You know what I mean?
Yes, that's the important thing. You are there to be used by the church.
Yeah.
All your time and talents. Isn't that how the language goes?
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't think Dave's been to the temple.
Everything with which the Lord.
I have not been to the temple. I have seen videos of the temple.
Yeah, which
that's no good.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna let you go, Dave. I've got a nice segue here, so take it easy.
See ya.
He said he was watching the temple on the internet. Now you know who does that. Good old New Name Noah.
Yes.
I reached out to New Name Noah this week. I have a friend from Southern Utah who wants to go to a family temple wedding. Doesn't have a current temple recommend, and wondered if New Name Noah was still in the business of procuring temple recommends so that people could attend. And I reached out to Mike on Facebook and said, "Hey, Mike, are you still making temple recommends for people? I don't think you are, but I told my friend I would ask." He wrote me back and said, "I'm really having nothing to do with Mormonism anymore." He goes, "What I do now is this." And so he sent me a link, and I'll just put it up on the screen and just explain. He still goes under the thing of cult news. So he's still using that same thing.
ULT. I'd never heard that before. Is that something he's been doing for a while?
He did this back when he was trying to be a rabble rouser with Mormonism and showing up on temple grounds and stuff. And he was acting like he was a news reporter with cult news. Well, now what he does is he goes to public places like a bank, and he sets up his camera pointing at the drive-through window from the sidewalk. And the people at the bank are like, "This is really fishy. Why would someone," and he's got a mask on, he's wearing a mask. He's like, why would someone with a mask be poking their camera inside of our bank and recording footage like this? Maybe this person's planning to do a robbery. So then the bank people,
maybe he's planning on doing a lesbian porno film inside the bank.
He might, but he ends up getting where the bank, and it's in all these videos, you can see cops in 3 of the top 4 pictures there, but he gets people to call the police on him. But he's not breaking any laws. He's just doing what he's allowed to do. You know, you can take video footage from any public place, from a public space, so he's just keeping the law. But every time the cops show up, they give him a hard time, and they ask him to take his camera away. They ask him to stop filming, and he just gets snarky and films even more and irritates the law enforcement, and then tries to get them to sort of break the law by getting him in trouble when he really isn't in trouble at all.
So are these videos on Cult News? Is that the name of the channel?
Yeah. So Cult News. Now, the reason I pulled this up before Diamond Dave came on, because you were talking about we hit 30,000 subscribers. And I thought, you're jealous of the channels out there that, on the pro side that have tons more people. I just wanted you to know that Mike Norton doing this thing after Mormonism has 110,000 subscribers. And this video he just put out 1 month ago, 140,000 views. 1 year ago, 338,000 views. This one 3 weeks ago, 100. Think about it from his point of view. I can, instead of working a normal job, I can just take my camera, put a mask on, and film a public building that people would not want me to be recording. And if I get the police called once a month, I am making one hell of a living.
Basically, he gets paid for just being himself.
He gets paid for being
I know. Here we are. It really, numbers don't matter. It's not size that matters, Bill. We're here. We're doing our best. We're telling the truth. We're making people's lives better. But, on the other hand, some people just have their channel where they try and piss people off.
And there are tons of these on social media. I watched for about a week. I watched a guy who every week he goes to a different place to fish, sets up his camera. You watch the whole time. He drives his truck. He gets to the lake. He sets up his fishing stuff. Mm-hmm. He fishes for a couple of hours, catches a fish or two, and then he cooks the fish and eats it right there in front of you. And then the next episode is him doing the same thing at some other place.
So, I mean, it is edited, right? You don't have to sit there and watch the entire thing.
No, it's edited, but it gets hundreds of thousands of views.
Well, it sounds idyllic,
Yeah.
They should have people out on golf courses. I hear that golf courses are the most beautiful places. Maybe they do already. I don't know.
They do. I just watched last week a professional golfer does a YouTube channel where he invites people like Adam Sandler or John Daly, who's old and retired pretty much from golf. And he invites just, actors on or athletes. He had, who was it? It was a football player. I don't remember who it was, but he had a professional football player on. And his goal is they play from the women's tees. They play, is it just 9 holes? No, 18 holes. And they try to break 50 playing best ball, which means you both shoot a shot, and whichever ball was the best shot, now you both shoot from that person's shot. So every best shot gets both of you to shoot from that place. And he tries to break the score of 50. And he's got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of subscribers. And sometimes I think we do this serious work.
Mm-hmm.
We try to help people get out of a high demand religion.
Oh, yeah.
And we barely just crossed 30,000 subscribers.
It's also a problem that we have such an intelligent audience. And I say that not only to flatter you, but also because I think it's true. Very, very intelligent audience. So you take the average IQ of our audience, it's way up there. It's huge. I'm telling you.
Over 100 for sure.
Well, I was I was thinking 130. It's
Yeah.
The average is well over 130 of this audience. And the problem is that when you are catering to a highly intelligent audience, that's not a majority of the people out there.
No, I told you this a long time ago. For every person who has an IQ of 120, because 100 is the median, for every 120 walking around out there, there's an 80 walking around out there who's just punching his time card and putting his honest day's worth of work in and going home and eating a fried.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, eating a fried bologna sandwich and taking on the world.
It's codified.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes. And once you understand that for every person over 100, there's a person under 100, then you begin to understand why Mormon apologetics works for some people for a lifetime.
Yes. And why it is they can have so many subscribers.
Yes. Do the simple stuff. So just so you know, Mike Norton has hit the big time.
Yeah, it's good for him.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Well,
so everybody, can you subscribe if you haven't already? If you haven't been getting the message, if it's been too subliminal for you, just please subscribe right now if you haven't before, and encourage other people to subscribe. You can send them links to shows that you think are especially good and have them listen. Maybe let's get this thing growing and get more subscribers, because it really is a shame if the Rappolis and Stephen B. Smoot have more subscribers than we do.
And honestly, if you're just visiting your mother or talking to your spouse or hanging out with your kids, ask if you can borrow their phone for a moment and subscribe them to our channel as well.
That's a great idea, Bill. That way they'll get notifications and say, where's this coming from? They'll think it's the algorithms working against them. There's no way they'll ever find it was you. Or you can say, in this life, we all want to be happy. Well, I found a way to be happy, and it's by listening to the great lineup of podcasts at Mormon Discussions Podcasts, Inc.
I think you're onto something. I think we should challenge the folks over at Ward Radio to an IQ test. And we'd have to all show up at a place and make sure that no one's cheating and have folks just fill it out. And then we could compare what the post-Mormon content creators are versus the Ward Radio crew and see how that would go.
Is someone suggesting this in the live chat? Is that what it is?
No, I just thought, Cardinella sitting at a table with a number 2 pencil would be just a funny image of its own. All right.
Yes, I'm sure it would be. By the way, can we just put up the screen? I know we're at 2 hours. Boom, 2 hours, and we've got to go. Can I just talk about what's coming up tomorrow night, and you can talk about anything else that you want to talk about?
Yeah. Let me put this up, and is it this?
Oh yeah, you had put this up there. That was funny.
Oh, I'll say it really fast. Elder Bednar reminds BYU Pathway students that the gospel of Jesus Christ is joyful. Why do you need to remind people the gospel brings joy unless they just aren't feeling it? So there's
no kidding. I think Elder Bednar is the least joyful person I've ever seen in my life. And I think his wife would agree with me. Yeah, we've got a new RFM coming up tomorrow night. I'm sorry, did you want to say something more about Elder Bednar?
Nothing else.
He still hasn't taken my advice to lose the green tie. Okay, the 80s are calling. They want their ugly tie back. But this is coming up tomorrow. This is going to be titled Mormon Meets Satan, Instantly Regrets It. And I tell a story that I've been putting off telling for 9 years. And you remember that I was going to do this thing with Colby. We talked about it on Wednesday night, but then it sort of fell apart a little bit at the end because he's traveling. So I'm on my own. So I had to do this. I couldn't do what was regularly scheduled with Colby, and it was a good thing because I finally had to muster up the courage to do this story. And now I've got it done, and you can listen to it tomorrow. You can see why it is I've been putting it off. And yeah, you might think that's clickbait. Mormon meets Satan. Actually, it's not really.
Well, that should be interesting. 7 p.m. tomorrow is what you're hoping for?
Yes, sir. That's when it's premiered. I put it on premiere for tomorrow night at 7 o'clock your time on Mountain Time. Bill.
Awesome. Well, folks will have to check that out. Radio Free Mormon's newest episode tomorrow night, 7 p.m. I'm looking forward to it. Awesome. Right, anything else on your mind?
That's it. Mi amigo.
All right. Well, take us home, my friend.
Okay. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Please hit like. Please hit subscribe. You're all wonderful. Thanks for joining us here on this Friday night. You make it the best night of the week. Have a great weekend, everybody, and join us here once more next Friday, please, for another great episode of Mormonism After Dark. Good night.